I'm Yusuf Abramjee from Operation SA.
And I am Qari Ziyaad Patel from the Al-Imdad Foundation.
We've been in Turkey for the past 5 days as part of a humanitarian effort to see what relief we can bring to people in need. We know the effects of the Syrian war. There are tens of thousands of refugees. There are thousands and thousands of orphan children. We had the opportunity, together with the IHH Humanitarian Foundation, to enter Syria with official permission. And we are now back in Turkey, about to return home. A week full of emotion, very distressing scenes, the suffering on a massive scale of epic proportion. We as South Africans have to do much more, as much as we have contributed, Qari Ziyaad Patel.
I think, yes, as you've mentioned, it was a roller coaster of emotions, especially interacting with the children. And remember, these are the recent evacuees from Aleppo. And the main focus of our humanitarian mission here was to serve the victims of Aleppo. And Alhamdulillah, praise to the Almighty, we had the opportunity to interact with them, to engage with them, and to also serve them and also distribute vital aid. We had the opportunity to visit various refugee camps. These are the new refugee camps which have cropped up in the last few days, which is now a settlement and housing for these new evacuees. A really sad state, and I cannot imagine that in today's civilized times that such a scenario can still play out before our eyes.
We are looking at a possible volunteer program. We've had a lot of requests. The Al-Imdad Foundation will look at the logistics and viability of getting some professionals back into the border area over the next few weeks. As far as adoptions are concerned, we've had a lot of requests, but Qari Ziyaad, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yes, indeed. I think in current day times, with all the various human trafficking laws out there, remember also there's a cultural barrier here. These children are accustomed to a certain type of a culture, the Arab culture and so on. So to take them out of their comfort zone and from their space and from their families, I think this is not on. More so than anything else, I would say that perhaps if people still want to adopt, there are options back home to adopt. First, let us exhaust those efforts back home before we venture out anywhere else. An orphan is an orphan, no matter who the orphan is, whether it may be Syrian, Albanian, whether it may be from Somalia, whether it may be Zimbabwean or South African. An orphan will always be an orphan. And for those of you who would love to do something for an orphan, what you can do, perhaps you cannot adopt an orphan, but you can sponsor an orphan, and you can sponsor the well-being and the needs and the holistic needs, the educational needs, whatever the needs are for that orphan, and you can do this via the Al-Imdad Foundation.
Lastly, thank you, South Africa, for donating so generously. Thank you for digging deep into your pockets. Thank you for opening your hearts. What we have seen here in Turkey, in Syria, over the past few days has really broken us down to a large extent emotionally. But we cannot give up. We will continue to do whatever we can. We appeal to you to continue to pledge through Operation SA or any other credible NGO, as long as the funds reach the people right here where the need is.
Yes, ultimately, what we want to say is that our hearts are bleeding. Our hearts are bleeding. For myself and Brother Yusuf to see firsthand and experience firsthand the dire situation on the ground has something which has really touched our hearts, touched our emotions. We come back home full of emotions, and we hope to share these stories with everyone back home. But to all of you out there that have donated and have pledged for this noble cause, may the Almighty bless you, take you out from strength to strength, and remember, you've also put down your mark in helping to serve humanity.